Hey everyone, and welcome to Throne Talk. So the titles for all of the episodes of Telltale's Game of Thrones video game have just surfaced online, and the one that caught my eye the most was the 6th and final episode, The Ice Dragon. In this video, I'll be going over all things Ice Dragon related and their mysterious role in the Song of Ice and Fire world. Just so it doesn't go too off the rails, I'll be splitting this video into sections, starting with the children's book by George R.R. Martin, then all of the mentions and Easter eggs related to ice dragons in the main books, some popular ice dragon theories, and lastly my predictions on how I think they'll be used in the books, games, and on the show. Originally published in 1980, The Ice Dragon was just recently re-released with brand new artwork in October, and if I had to guess, the timing of this was no coincidence. Some sources claim the book is set in the Song of Ice and Fire world, but strangely Martin has never actually given an official answer either way. So in the story, ice dragons are a rare creature in the world, and wherever they go, they leave behind a cold and a frozen wasteland. Everyone in the village knows that they cannot be tamed or even thought about being ridden, but one young girl named Adara is different from everyone else, as she's nearly unaffected by cold. One day, an ice dragon lands near Adara's family farm, and eventually the two befriend each other, and the creature allows her to ride it. A few years pass, and violence and war have swept over the lands, and soon fire-breather dragons arrive at the village, and it's up to Adara and her ice dragon to defeat them. The two succeed, but after the battle, the ice dragon is nowhere to be found, and a mysterious pool full of freezing water has miraculously appeared in the village. Ultimately, I think this book is totally set in the same world, just many thousands of years before the events of the show, and it actually has a lot of tie-ins with the main books, which leads me to my next topic, because I think Martin has been leaving Easter eggs for the ice dragons throughout the series. The most common Easter egg in the books is an ice dragon constellation in the stars whose eye always points to the north and its tail to the south. A few characters, including Bran and Sam, use the stars to help guide their travels to the Wall. Now here's where it gets interesting, and I think also important, is that the next two Easter eggs don't come up until the two most recent books, Dance with Dragons and The World of Ice and Fire. In Dance with Dragons, Jon thinks back to the tales old Nan used to tell him when he was a child, mainly one about ice dragons and their freezing cold breath. I think it's entirely possible that the story old Nan told him could actually be the ice dragon, because there's definitely some similarities between the two worlds, especially the bit about the war and violence. Just released this year, The World of Ice and Fire gives us the first legitimate mention of ice dragons physically existing in Westeros. In the part of the book where the narrator is going over the geography, he speaks about the Shivering Sea and tells us that hundreds of sailors have reported to have seen giant beasts of ice roaming the skies in this area. He also mentions that they supposedly possess breath so cold it can freeze a man dead, and that they are also many times larger than fire dragons. There's also a part about ice dragons melting upon being slain. Sound familiar? Now it's tinfoil time. The most believable theory for me is related to the Godswood in Winterfell. In A Game of Thrones, Lady Stark mentions how one pool in front of the Heart Tree is always extremely cold even on the hottest days, when all of the other pools at Winterfell are warm, and the castle is actually built atop hot springs. Given everything we've learned so far, this definitely sounds like the pool in the Godswood could actually be the melted remains of a slain ice dragon. If you guys saw my White Walker video, you know that I think one of the things the White Walkers could be up to is that they are searching for the Horn of Winter in order to destroy the Wall. But what if the myth about the Horn's power was wrong, and it can't destroy the Wall, but it instead possesses a different ability, the power to control ice dragons? Dragon horns come up more than a few times in the books, and I'm not going to spoil anything, just that Daenerys recalls how the Valyrian dragon riders of old supposedly used magical horns to command their dragons. As far as the Horn of Winter goes, there's many claims about its power, but the most common legend is that Joramun, a king beyond the Wall during the Age of Heroes, blew the horn and awoke giants from the earth to help defeat the Night's King during his reign of terror. I think it's entirely possible that the giants that Joramun awoke could have been ice dragons, and the horn was able to control them at least for a short time. If the horn can wake ice dragons, then I think whoever has it or is looking for it could become a powerful force, and if the White Walkers get a hold of it, they would pretty much be unstoppable, especially considering that we just learned ice dragons are many times larger than fire. Now I'm gonna warn you guys, this one here is a little bit out there and it assumes a lot, but I think it's still pretty cool to think about. So in Westeros, many believe that magic was involved in the construction of the wall, and as the Midis puts it, dragons are magic. The Night's Watch was definitely responsible for building the wall, but when you've got giant creatures with ice breath, and possibly a way to control them, who's to say they didn't get some outside help for their 700-foot tall creation? Now to take it even further, we look at the legend of Azor Ahai. Part of the prophecy is that the legendary hero, born amidst salt and smoke, will wake dragons from stone. If you think that Jon is Azor Ahai, then it's possible that the dragon he will wake is right under his very nose and is actually frozen inside of the wall. I know, insane. With the help of the Horn of Winter, maybe he wakes this dragon and uses it against Dany and her fire dragons in the Battle of Fire and Ice, if one were to occur. Okay, you guys can take your tinfoil hats off, and let's talk some of my predictions. As far as the games, if you guys didn't check out the first episode, Iron from Ice, I definitely recommend it. It's very similar to the show, and it has a lot of those crazy moments that everyone loves. So we know that there's one character heading to the wall in the game, but since the action picks up just after the Red Wedding, the only major event that we know about for the Night's Watch during this time is the battle against Carl and the mutineers at Craster's Keep. Now this is all speculation, but I think it's pretty possible that Garrett could be one of the volunteers for the battle, but he gets separated from the action and either ends up in the hands of the walkers or just lost beyond the wall before he encounters the dragon. The other possibility that I'm thinking is that a dragon could exist in the mysterious North Grove that we heard about in the last episode. Whatever way they do take it, I'll be pretty upset if Telltale is just trolling us with the title and we never see one in the flesh. If it is actually the Horn of Winter that is on the cover of Winds of Winter, it makes you think about how important it might be to the story. Whether it blows up the wall or wakes the ice dragon, I think in the end it will play a pivotal part in the books. When you consider the release of the children's story and the recent mentions of ice dragons in the books, I think Martin is 100% setting us up for an appearance, but whether it's just a flyover or something else, I have no idea. Season 5 will really be telling as far as how close I think they'll be sticking to the book's story. We haven't really seen any talk of dragon horns on the show, but this season, Dany's story, as well as the events at the Wall and what will happen to one of the major houses, will be very important to the chances of an ice dragon appearing. I'm totally down for one playing a small role or a big role, but I'd be most blown away if an ice dragon makes an appearance in a battle of ice and fire, if one was to go down. Well, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching this episode of Throne Talk. Make sure you comment below if you want to continue the Ice Dragon talk, and you guys can find me on Twitter at Throne_talk if you ever want to talk some Thrones or want some heads up for my future videos, including next week, which will be a battle of Littlefinger and Varys. As always, leave your suggestions for future videos and hit subscribe for more Throne Talk.